Hello and good morning, traders. It is 8 a.m. Chicago time on Wednesday, the 20th of July, 2022. We're here on episode 2276. How many of you have been here for all of them? I know some of you have. That's a lot of watching. Really appreciate it. I wanted to remind you that derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This morning, looking at the convergent trading pre-market summary sheet here, we see that the market's risk off versus yesterday's close, mainly based on European action here, with the Euro Stoxx 50 to DAX down about 80 basis points. Some good news just came across the wire here. Russian gas flows through Nord Stream 1 pipeline will resume on Thursday after routine maintenance work is completed. Grid operator Gascade says. Saw a little pop there. There's also some a lift in Italian bonds this morning as the Prime Minister Draghi, yes, that's the same guy who ran the ECB for a while, has pledged to remain in his role. He was threatening or looking to resign as he couldn't form a coalition. So that's good news for them. And they are they're announcing that there will be profound changes to the government's makeup, which I believe Italy needs quite desperately. This morning also we got Canadian CPI year on year. Inflation came in at 8.1% versus the expected 8.4%. So pretty good news for them there. The month on month came in at 0.5 versus the prior 0.6. So a little bit of cooling showing up there in Canada. The main drivers today are going to be home sales data. Japan, really strong close on the overnight session, up over 2%. The market's responding to either positive earnings or better than or more optimistic earnings than expected. In the case of Netflix, with the loss of subscribers being less than what was expected. China COVID reopening. Macau is reopening now. That's positive news. And again, the Russian gas flow to resume. So this is what we are looking at. In terms of what's ahead, we do have consumer confidence. We did get inflation also out of Great Britain, 9.4 versus the expected 9.5, so slightly better. And of course, it's slightly higher than the prior of 9.1. So today we're looking for a consumer confidence flash at 10. At 10, existing home sales out of the U.S. Consumer confidence flashes out of the Eurozone. Existing home sales at 10 as well. And then we get the crude oil and gasoline inventories. And then balanced trade out of Japan at 7:50 p.m. That's a key number. And then the Bank of Japan interest rate decision. Again, kind of odd that they have an interest rate decision and their inflation number comes out tomorrow. So that's what's on deck. So what do we have here in the S&P? Just a quick recap of what's on the screen here. If you look at this section, in the S&P, we have 239,000 contracts traded. The inventory is 24% long, so there's 24% more volume above the close than below. The range is 42 points, well within range. And then the point of control is shifted to 39.45, the highest it's been in a while. Pretty bullish action yesterday. And, of course, it held in the overnight session. Here's what I shared yesterday. No, the overnight numbers are correct. If there's an equal volume above and below the close, then it would be, the inventory would be zero. There's, what this is saying is 24% more volume is long than short, not the percent of volume that's above or below. So yesterday, the expectation is we would pull back into the 38.65 right here. Let me change this to white. Overnight volume's 238,000. Let's see. Man, I do not like how they change this. Can't choose the colors the way that I would like. Okay, so let's change the color. Here we go. Expected a pullback into 38.65 or so. This is where that comes from. And then expected a push to 79. 79 fills in the single prints. Fills in the single prints. And then the expectation is it would continue to 09, expecting it to balance in the 09, and then ultimately push to the 22. That's the plan. That's the plan for this morning. So, what did we get? Here's what we have here in Edge Pro X as I attempt to trade the morning numbers. Here's where we are. So what do we have? What did we get yesterday? Yesterday, we opened up in what was a choppy open. We did open in range. We went sideways. We kept pushing the high by a couple ticks, falling back in, the low by pushing the low down by a couple ticks, pushing back up. And then we ultimately got into 38.68. Remember, we're looking for 38.65, looking for it to push down here. And then we finally push through, and then we get a nice pullback. This was a trade I narrated in the Conversion Trading Head Trader channel. Nice pullback into the 76, 76.50 or 77 was the long. And then we get some good lifting. You see these bubbles here. We get some good lifting into the 79. By the way, I tried to buy into the 79 early on and got stopped. Got a full stop. I think it was back here actually. Got a full stop before it got there. Remember, I was targeting the single print at 79 yesterday off the open, but it finally relented. This is the setup here is a pullback to mid against the prior high, price action high, with this zipper here for risk control against the mid, open, and VWAP. And then it finally did its job. And the goal was 93. 93 was the prior day's point of control. And then beyond there, we're looking for 09 right here. And look at what happens at the 09. Pushes, pulls, consolidates. Whole bunch of trading happening at the 09. This is as shown in yesterday's Trader Bite in terms of what was expected. And then it finally busts through at this point. I'm out of bullets. It finally busts through, gets to where the next level up I show is the 22, which was the high 2 weeks ago. And it pushes into the 22 by squeezing into the 20, not able to get to 22, consolidates, and finally explodes upwards. Now, from here on out, so from the expected 38.65, we got 68, into the 79, into the 93, into the 09, and into the 22. This is more than sufficient in terms of range covered on a rally, but this market had had other ideas, and it just kept running. So yesterday the range was very high, unusually high, and the what's the word? The reason this is happening, what's propelling this, really comes back from Friday, from the Michigan sentiment number and another number. I don't remember what it was, maybe a PMI or something, that is indicating that inflationary pressures are coming down, are cooling, and the theme across the Treasury complex, the Fed funds rate, and so on, is that the market is confirming that this is the case, and so it's lifting and lifting and lifting. If you look at earnings, actual earnings, there isn't anything fantastic there. Earnings are okay; they're not terrible, but the expectations have been lowered. Guidance has been lowered. These are generally not positive things, but overall, what the market is pricing in here, we saw in the Canadian numbers today. We'll probably see them we saw a little bit in Great Britain's inflation numbers and so on, and across the euro dollar curve, we're seeing just a slight glimpse of some cooling into the next meeting, which is next week, and especially into September. So this really pushed pretty hard. And yesterday, if you look at this, if you pay attention to the little clouds in there, the bubble clouds, you'll notice that there's a lot more participation. So yesterday, there was quite a bit of participation by the large lots. And if we look at the relative delta, it's very, very interesting. Let's look at the relative delta of yesterday. Very interesting here. We see that the very large lots, which is the yellow, these are the 100 lots or better participating in buying or selling. So we're measuring the aggressor buying or selling on the tape, and we're starting at 0 at the open of the session at 5 o'clock Central, and we're adding and subtracting how much volume they're buying or selling that is meeting certain thresholds. Small lots is 1 lots to 9 lots, large lots 10 lots to 99 lots, very large lots are 100 lots or greater. And you could see there's clear divergence between the two, and I pointed this out yesterday. And what's happening is the delta is tracking with the cumulative delta. The overall delta is tracking with the very large delta, and we see that in the tape. We see it on the chart with the bubbles. There's a lot of OTF activity or larger size activity going on. Let's not get into why. Are they accumulating, distributing? Are they hedging? Are they speculating? It doesn't matter. The fact is they're buying. Whether they're buying because they think it's going to go higher or they're buying because they're covering a short, it's the same thing. They anticipate higher prices. That's all we care about. But then on the close, before Netflix came out, we had a very strong selling spree here. You could see the delta just falling right back to 0 right after the close. It pushes right back to 0. Very interesting, holding steady long, and all of that, it didn't come from the large lot participants, didn't come from the small lot participants. All of it came from the very large. So squaring into the close is very unusual on a big rally day. So the expectation, given that we closed at the high, the auction is incomplete. We expect the market to continue to push higher in price, kind of like a train coming to a stop after, once it hits the brakes, after the point where it hits the brakes, which is 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern, takes a little bit of time for it to kind of come to a stop, for the momentum to dissipate. So we see that in price, but the delta was negative. So the expectation overnight is it would continue to push higher, but overall we expect it back in the range, and that's exactly what we got. So the overnight session, if we look at the overnight session here, has certain characteristics that we cannot ignore. One, we took out the 3 o'clock high. What is it? Where was it? Yeah, we took out the 3 o'clock high, which is right here. So we continued higher. So we continued the momentum. It's a trend. It's a trending day with a point of control at the high. So the point of control yesterday is at 39.35, with a high being 39.43. 39.43 in the RTH session. So there's a lot of energy right at the top of the profile, and that's likely to continue to drive momentum higher. So we look for that. and then it, consolidates at the mid VWAP. People try to argue with me that these are made up levels, but okay. It consolidates at the mid and VWAP, and then it finally breaks down, consolidates again. So we form, well, this is kind of a bit of a megaphone here, but we form a bit of a zipper right in here, and then we break through, pull back right to this consolidation, and we're holding steady below. And this is the settlement price. So we've got settlement at 39.3750, 37.50. That's right here. And we have what is a multi-distribution profile in the overnight session with a neckline right at the 37 this morning. This 37 is going to be important early on. It's an important first indication. It's going to be an important first indication as to what the intention is. If the market tries to test through the 37, maybe gets into the 45, gets the prior settle and falls off, or the prior high and falls off and remains in range, I'm going to be looking to sell short. I'm going to be looking for 39.22 and 39.09. So what that trade looks like, let's move this over. So let's draw the line again. The line is right. Man, if I can get it straight. Whatever. Let's use that ellipse or whatever that shape is. If we consolidate here on the open, we're likely to attempt to push through as long as we hold the prior day's high, RTH high here, and we don't get out of range and it starts to roll over. Any return would look for a short, and then we would target the overnight low, which is at 39.22. What a coincidence that the 39.22 from yesterday is now the overnight session, 39.22. So we're looking for the 39. I won't draw the whole thing. I don't want to draw write out the whole number. We're looking for the 22. And then if the 22 does not hold and it breaks below, another stab at the short from the 22 against that 39.22 level that I talked about yesterday, and the overnight low gives us another opportunity at a short. And in this case, we would target 39.09. So the 22, if you get in there at 20, because you have to give up a few ticks to see the turn before getting in. If we get in at 20 and we target 09, gives us about 11 points, call it 10 points of range on 4 points of risk, 3.5, 4 points of risk. All in, all out, the R factor's there. But if we get down into 39.09, we're likely to test the 3900. And if we don't hold the 3900, we start to work our way down into the 80s, 38, 80, and so on and so forth. That's the key trade of the day. How is this making sense following yesterday's action? It makes sense because we have come a long way. Now, we have a major level just above, which we took out overnight. We have that 39.50. The 39.50 ends the one-time framing down on the monthly. This is a key level. Unfortunately, the market took it out overnight. The overnight high is 39.64, 64 quarter if you want to check your data. So we took out the 39.50, which is kind of sad, but that's an opportunity that's taken away. And as long as we remain below that 39.50, we are likely to migrate back to 3900, test the 39.80, and potentially get down into the 39.56, 57 if a reversal is really taking place here. This has come a long way in a very short period of time. So that's my primary scenario. The secondary scenario, consolidate, pull back, potentially poke the overnight stat, get into the 39.22.20. Maybe not. It might just consolidate and push, looking for a pullback into 37. Now we're above the prior day's range, looking for a pullback into 37. If it holds and it's supported on the pullback after pushing higher, then we're definitely looking for the 50. So now We're looking for the 50 from 37, about 13 points. Again, 3 to 4 points of risk gives us a pretty good R factor, which, by the way, I'm going to be doing a webinar about tomorrow, webcast about tomorrow, R factors and how important that metric is. That's at 1 o'clock Eastern. The invitation and details are in the YouTube chat. So we're looking for 39.50, and then from there, we're pushing into the key areas above, which is 39.68, something like that. That's the secondary scenario. Why didn't I draw these the way I usually do with the colors on the same screen? No idea, but I want to let you go. And those are the two main plays. The first play being the selling play, because we're back in range. We've created a clear line in the overnight session. The delta was a seller into the close, and these guys liquidated their, a lot of them liquidated their positions to bring delta back to even for the entire session, despite the fact the price yesterday was 70 points higher, 60 some odd points higher. To me, that's suspect. So we'll see what happens on the open. I'm open to either one. These are 50-50 in terms of what's likely. I'm open to them selling off or buying up. What I'm looking for is an impulse with a weak pullback, either an impulse down with a weak pullback higher to sell, or an impulse up with a weak pullback lower to buy, depending on where they are versus yesterday's range. Are we still in yesterday's range or not? And against that 39.37. That'll be the line in the sand. I hope that all makes sense. I know that's a lot to absorb, especially this early in the morning, but the early bird gets the worm here, as always. So I invite you to do that, to consider that plan and compare it to what you have. And I invite you to think about this question, which I threw at you yesterday. I'll discuss in more detail on Friday. What motivates you to trade? Why do you trade? Are you trading because you want to make money? Are you trading for financial independence? Are you trading for the craft? Are you trading for the process? Are you trading for the growth? What motivates you to trade is one key element that is likely to drive the level of progress that you make, the level of anxiety that you experience, and the probability that you will win. So consider this. We'll discuss on Friday. Good luck. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. If you're not subscribing to the channel, please do, so you can get notified when things are posted. And I'll catch you all tomorrow. Take care.